Welcome. And today I would just like to introduce our guest speaker, Pierre-Adrien Hanania. Apologies if I butchered that. Pierre-Adrien is a superstar in the tech world. He serves as the global offer leader for data and AI in the public sector at Capgemini. He uses his magic touch to help organizations deliver mind-blowing public services to citizens by leveraging the power of data and artificial intelligence. Hailing from Berlin, Pierre has got it all covered, overseeing activities in not one, not two, but 18 countries. And that's not all. He is also the driving force behind Capgemini's partnership with the United Nations ITU, contributing to the AI for Good Summit since 2020. But wait, there's more. Before taking on his role at Capgemini, Pierre-Adrien was a rock star in the European think tank world and even has a degree in European affairs from the legendary sciences PO Paris. Pierre, it is such a pleasure to have you with us this evening, and we are so excited for your talk.
Great, and well, thanks for having me. So I'm thrilled to have these 30 minutes to, on the one hand, show a bit of my work and of our work in regards to what we do in public services, and more specifically on quality education, which is SDG 4. I will present a few slides, but mostly also engage with you, show how we can imagine applying data and AI in the field of education. Do not hesitate to reach out with questions or engage directly. Definitely, if anyone sees that there are questions, but I do not address them, of course, from the moderation, feel free to jump in at any time so that we make it as interactive as possible. So indeed, thanks a lot, Jess, for the introduction. A few words about me, indeed. I'm Pierre-Adrien Hanania. I'm based in Berlin. I'm French. I'm actually today in Paris, so back home for now, for 1 week. And I have two roles at Capgemini, one which is really relevant for this one today. On the one hand, I'm global offer leader for data and AI in public services. So I cover 18 plus countries, specifically a lot in Western Europe, but also in Singapore, for example, in Australia, where we have some operations as well. So I know the public sector entities and how they deal with data and AI, with information-led environment. What does it mean when I say public entities? It can be ministries, governments, cities, hospitals, and also schools or ministries of education. My last discussion with the Minister of Education, for example, was 2 weeks ago about data sharing. So that is something that I like to do, because also I like to bridge from one country to another with similar challenges and therefore also similar opportunities. And I think that Teams in AI is a great showcase of how to build bridges in between the different countries with similar approaches and solutions. So yeah, I'm really at the crossroad between tech and politics, because what I can give you from my perspective is really the insight that whatever you do, wherever you come from, you can contribute to that discussion, you can contribute to that progress. And the more diverse, the better, because I am not a data scientist by training. I have been studying sociology, I've been studying politics, and yet I found myself into a track that brought me to tackle data and AI every day at the company where I am today. And I think that it is also because I bring that touch that is multidisciplinary. I like to think against myself. And one way to do so is to think about data in a educational spirit, in a political spirit, in a business spirit as well, in a technological spirit, and in a jurisdictional, because we have to build this understanding of what data and AI is across the layers of our societies, because data and AI today, but you know it best, has an impact on our daily life. And this is something that we therefore have to think about and to clearly and safely plan. So we live in an information-led world, and I do like this quote by Albert Einstein, which is all about information is not knowledge. We live in a world and in a society where a lot of information is out there. What does it mean? It means that on social media, in the street, on our mobile app, on our phone, we have so much information accessible. Yet it doesn't mean that it is being knowledgeable. that is being brewed into knowledge, because information is out there, but it doesn't mean that it is necessarily truth. Information is out there, but it doesn't mean that it is necessarily shared at the right place at the right time. So it's all about how can we transform that information in knowledge. And why it is important, and especially on topics such as data and AI then, is because this world, be it a hospital, be it a school, be it a street, where we are every day, well, of course, is a complex information-led environment. I work a lot with hospitals, for example, in regards to how to forecast resources in order to better treat patients. I work a lot with forest agencies those days in order to understand where and when will the next wildfire occur. These are questions that are information-led, because it's about understanding what happens, why it happens, and what will happen next. But they are also having an impact on, well, up to lives, because indeed, when we talk about wildfire or pandemics, it is about saving lives, it is about saving time, and in order to help public servants to do their operations or to be enhanced in their daily work. And here you see a city, I like that, because it's from a project we have in Dijon, in the city of Dijon in France, where all is connected. The parking spots, the bicycle sharing systems, the hospital, the public safety agencies, but also, well, you as citizen who go from one place to another. When you go to school, you have several ways to go there. You can take the bike, you can walk, you can take the car. Not yet for you, but some of you soon. You can also take the metro or the bus. That's an information-led environment. There are a lot of possibilities, and yet you have one way to go there, and it's decided upon weather data. It's decided upon the time that you have to get there. It's decided about also stuff that is happening in the street as we speak. For example, if there is a lot of traffic, it might get better actually to work than to take the car or the bike, for example. And that is all about this. We live in this information-led environment. And of course, when it comes to education, it's a bit more abstract than this picture, but it's just as important. Today, when we talk, and that's a kind of the start of what I mean by the toolbox of data and AI. When you will think about education and how to empower education, and when you will build in a hackathon, for example, on use cases, try to think along those lines. What can data and AI really help you into doing? First of all, it can help you into automating processes intelligently, reading a document, validating a document, organizing a process flow that is intelligently held and dealt with. That can be used, and we will come back to that, in requests by teachers or in requests by parents. Then you have interaction with the citizen and public servant. This is a field that comes back again and again now with ChatGPT-3. Maybe you have heard about that, because interaction with the citizen and public servant is getting even more intelligent step by step. Back then we had chatbots, and they were already very good. Chatbots also in the field of education can be very helpful. But how to make that interaction even more intelligent, how to help public servants to answer trivial questions with the chatbot so that they can answer the most complex questions with human touch, but also how to bring in human touch into chatbots and into conversational AI. Then you have identifying anomalies. That's what I was meaning with, for example, wildfire. Understanding what is happening based on data. Imagine a doctor. A doctor has experience. He has knowledge about CT scans, radiology. He can see a lot of things, but he cannot see the 20,000 last files of patients he has dealt with or she has dealt with. The mathematical advantage behind data and AI it doesn't bring the experience, but it brings that scaled mathematical advantage to look at hundreds of documents at the same time and creating an interdependence between variables and data, between information, and transforming into knowledge. So that is, for example, in public sector, it can be fraud detection, but in the field of education, it can be detecting early dropout. We have a major problem, which is dropout at school. A lot of kids are interrupting school at some point, and there are reasons behind that. How to identify what are the reasons before it even happens. That's what brings us to the fourth category here, helping in decision-making process, where here it's not about anymore identifying what is happening, but actually about helping in identifying that before and also helping to decide stuff. Because if you understand what happens, for example, let me take again the wildfire. If you understand why the wildfire happens at this spot, because of specific characteristics of the wood or of the forest, of the weather, then you can also predict what will happen next somewhere. And you can also understand what to decide for, how to help the ecosystem. And in education, how to maybe help with predictive and prescriptive analytics, the teacher, the ministry, the parent, and eventually, of course, also the kid, to change something or to get a more tailor-made activity. And one of the sub-targets of SDG 4 is all about that, to have no discrimination in the way to access education. And we have in our societies parts of people and parts of specific populations that are discriminated today. We have also fatalities, of course, and occurrences in the life that makes that one child has not the same power to access education. He has maybe a different way to access it. He has more difficulty to follow, or more difficulty to follow the system that currently is in place. So we have to adapt, make this system a bit more adaptable and agile for exactly this kind of kids, because those kids need the access to education as well, and they need it in the same extent. So all that ties back to two things that are very important. On the one hand, data and AI comes as a tool. It should never decide alone. AI can be intelligent as it gets, but first of all, there is a data scientist behind, but also there is a real life impact. So the human decides and AI helps. On the other side, it needs to come with ethics. I've been involved in the past years. I've had the honor to be involved in task forces with the UN, with the EU Commission, where I would have, for example, the pleasure to talk with Lucilla Scioli, who is the head of AI at the European Commission. And we were discussing how can we make sure to implement the AI in projects in a way that it is fair, in a way that it is explainable, in a way that it is lawful. I take one example. If we decide to help a kid with a specific program, but we are not able to say why we do so, and we just say, yeah, the AI thinks that it is good. No, it's not how it works. We need to be able to understand why we go with that suggestion, what impact it has, and how explainable the next step is. So that is because of this mathematical advantage. We cannot say, because we have that mathematical advantage, we give up the accountability. No, the doctor who is not able to see all those interdependencies builds on experience in order to lean on the data and AI advantage, while still using his experience, her experience, in order to make sure that the decision is the right one. Now, in the talks with the UN and in the talks around the SDGs, I've always thought about education as one of the key points where we can have an impact. In quality education, I think of early dropout at school. How can we help with data and AI to identify this? How can we also help in skills data space to think about if we share the data right, we create tailor-made skills data space, because today we are not in a world anymore where the diploma is just document, and we are not anymore in a world where skills are only summarizable through a document. We need to understand what someone wants to do, what a kid wants to do, in order to understand how to activate this strength. And by sharing data in between different fields, we might discover new talents and future talents in fields that we would not think of. And cyberbullying, it's a huge work. It's a huge task of societies today. Sadly, there are not just good people out there. So we have a lot of people getting cyberbullied. We have a lot of people getting bullied, and they are alone. They are alone and they feel alone. And if that occurs and no one finds them, no one is there for them, it can have dramatic consequences. And therefore, data and AI can be a helper, not just in identifying the case, but also in making sure that this person is not feeling alone and that the connect is being made. So that is something that is very important, especially in vulnerable populations. And I could add a few other cases in regards, for example, to disinformation and in regards to the value of information. There are chatbots or conversational AI, for example, that could verify or help to verify the validity of something, who could help also in identifying fake news or online hate speech, which is similar to cyberbullying. There is a huge overlap here, but to not accept online hate speech, because social media, for example, have a responsibility in identifying cyberbullying, in identifying online hate speech, and no, it's not okay to insult someone online. So that's where social media can use actually data and AI in order to identify that and make sure that this tweet or this post is being suppressed, deleted. So we still have 12 minutes. We have had some projects. I just wanted to show one in the field of education, just so that you see how it has been used. We have optimized PISA math scores. You see it on the right for the Ministère de l'Éducation nationale in France. We have detected early dropout at school at the Alpha College in the Netherlands. And we have protected disadvantaged children in the state government of Victoria in Australia. If we take a look at the proof of concept we have built for reducing students' dropout rate, here, what was the idea? The idea was that in the Netherlands, in some parts, 75% of the students drop out of education before getting a degree. But we know how important a degree can be in the life of a human, in the life of a kid. So here, the challenge was really to know, why are they dropping out? And can we help them, not just when it happens, but before it happens? Prévention in France, prevention, proactively detect and help in solving that. So maybe it's that they have too much class, or maybe, which might be something you like, but maybe it is also that the teaching effectiveness for this particular children type is not the right one, or the course mix is not the right one, or, and that was actually a very important variable, that the school is very far from where the kid lives. So they need 1 hour 30 to get there every day, back and forth. So what went well with AI and data? Why was data and AI helping here? Because first of all, we were able to create a dashboard, to understand the situation, to understand what are the variables that led past dropouts, and help, therefore, the school to understand, oh, based on the patterns, based on the reasons that led to a dropout, we now understand what future endangered childs might be. Because based on those patterns, they would understand who in the future, or right now, we have 4 or 5 children that also have this same pattern. They live far, they have 9 classes a day, and well, they have bad grades in math and in sports, I don't know. And based on this pattern recognition, we could say, here we need to help now, because today they are still at school, but if we don't do anything, maybe in 2 months, they are dropout, and dropping out would lead them to not having any education or not have the same education. So identifying the drivers for dropout, consider the interaction with the teachers, with the parents, with the child themselves. And that was a model that we built that had an accuracy of 91% based on 33,000 people. So that was really nice. And here, of course, it was all compliant with GDPR, so no personal data, because the data was really not about the identity of the person, but about how far this person lives, which is not the personal data. 1 hour, 1 hour 30, that was the data. The mix of programs, there was not the name. So we would make sure that this is being done with transparency and without being endangering the identity of the person. And of course, that's not the AI deciding, okay, now we need to do that, but there would be a suggestion, of course, recommendation, or maybe helping more on this language. And then the teacher would help. We would be looped back and say, I understand, I know the child, I see the data. How can I use it in order to help that child in the coming weeks and months? I stop here very briefly because I see there may be some questions already. Is there anything I could help with answering? Let me check. I see this question. Okay. I see 3 questions. Perfect. Let me answer. On the one hand, I see how can we ensure that education promotes global citizenship and prepares students to be responsible and engaged members of their communities and of the wider world? Well, we can help already, first of all, with a lot of non-technological assets, because by sharing programs, by sharing initiatives, by sharing information, we can definitely create the platform where people can come together and work together on this. We can create also chatbots that answer with data. If I'm thinking about data here, of course, we can create chatbots that answer some most basic questions, but we can also create a matching platform where you would have mentors, you would have people with experience who could answer questions, targeted questions of students. So a student has a need, and instead of only relying on its local community, which is also very important, he could reach out to the global community saying, my question is about that. Can I be matched with a mentor or someone who has the experience in that field and who could help me with suggestions? Then I see also a question from YouTube about how would AI be beneficial to education in the third world where access to technology is limited? That's very important indeed. First of all, I think there is a mandate to, on the one hand, not see it or see the action as cross-world. So that's what the UN is there for as well. But for example, we are not necessarily in the field of education, or at least I don't have so many insights here, but for example, in the project farm for agriculture, which is a bit actually helpful in this case, because it's really educating for small-scale farmers. Basically, we help small-scale farmers to get the data from the sky. So small-scale farmers have, in Kenya and in India is where we are operating, they have fields, but they don't have the knowledge about these fields in a scaled way. So what we use is the technology that we have from open data and the geosatellite imagery to help identify, okay, this is the field you have the weather coming like this, and that's how you could use your field in the coming days and weeks. And we assemble data, we help understanding that data, and we help on educating the ways to deal with the field in a good way. So on education, for example, in schools, what could that be? Well, to share models, to cooperate between data scientists of the world in regards to, well, for example, the early dropout, and to create an on-premise solution where we could really create an accuracy model on probability of early dropout and understand, based on the data that exists there, how we could move forward on that agenda. Or again, create a chatbot, a conversational AI that would create the most basic questions, especially, for example, for those who are not having education today because the next school is too far away. And to make sure that, first of all, access to internet is provided on a most simple way, but effective way. And then that they could interact with the world of knowledge from home in order to get answers, in order to get information in regards to very structured programs of school on math, on physics, on geography, on whatever is needed. But obviously, here, to play with data and AI, you need the infrastructure. So one of the most important homeworks by governments and by societies is to make sure that we become step by step a digitized organization. And to be honest, no need to go to the third world in this case to get issues like that, because I can tell you in some countries where you have not a centralized state, but really decentralized, you have a lot of still no land zones in terms of technology infrastructures. You have places where you just don't have even access to internet on the mobile phone. You are disconnected. I was in UK a few days ago, and I saw that I was not able to connect to any internet. So there was no connection. So I see another field. What made you move from your primary field of study, sociology, into the world of data and AI? That's a very good question, because we need more of these kind of profiles, even if the most important is to have a mix between the technical and the, in this case, sociological or human scientist, a political scientist field. Well, I was always at the crossroad between politics and other fields. And technology, digital, became a core pillar of our societies. I would even say one really that is relevant to all of our ministries, to all of our governments. So definitely when I saw that we have a digitalized world in terms of information, in terms of data, well, I want to be part of it. And therefore, I made sure that I entered this world of technology, and that from where I can help, from an expertise about public services, I help in thinking about this social digital contract that we want to have in regard to making sure that data and AI is implemented in an ethical way, in a clear way, in a politically compliant way, and in a politically helpful way, so that it serves the public servant and it helps the citizen. And I think that all of us have a role to play in here. What I often say is, we are the smartest asset of our societies, of course, as human. And we can contribute with our data if shared the right way. We are smart citizens. So also a child, I have a very interesting case in Norway, where a child would talk to a mobile app about how safe they feel when they go to school. And they would click on a button or say, I feel unsafe, etc. And that would help the city to plan the road to the school in a safe way. And that actually is also really related to some parents who would not want to send their kids to that school because the way to go there is just too scary, just too long, or just not made for children. So the way the mobile app interacted with those childs, by simply telling them, tell us when you feel unsafe, would help the city to say, okay, here we need more infrastructure. Here we need a bus stop, for example. Here we need maybe to have some people helping the kids to cross the road. And that is super interesting. Last but not least, I see also a question about the Netherlands case study. In what ways can education be tailored to meet the needs of diverse learners, including those with disabilities, refugees, and other marginalized groups? Absolutely valid question. That's what I meant when I was, for example, saying interacting with the citizen. There are a lot of technologies, meanwhile, that are super interesting because they help exactly in that. First of all, on language, translators in real time, also translators that help for people with disabilities indeed, who cannot read, for example, or who cannot write, where that would be taken over by the data and AI, either with intelligent robotics or with eye tracking movement, with a natural language processing, with a tailor-made translation. And that's where, of course, technology can help. Why? Because a teacher, the real life of a teacher today is to have 20, 30, sometimes 40, or even more people in one classroom, one human for 40 people. And the problem of the human will always be that we have, in most cases, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 brain. The neural network of a human is good, but it's not made to deal and to speak to 30 people, 40 people in a tailor-made way at the same time. Now, that's where the mathematical advantage of AI and data comes in, because there you can be 24/7, anytime, any place, and tailor-made for the people. Now, saying this is easy, providing the help is more difficult. Here, what it needs, there is no magic. It needs training. It needs a tailor-made plan on how to address these exact needs. But what I was mentioning before with the tailor-made pathway, with the pattern prediction or pattern recognition, sorry, with the prescriptive analytics, that's a way data and AI is able to trace back to all the profiles like that, and to loop it back in the future or in the present to understand, oh, we have here one child that is reacting to this, having this preference or this disability. Then the AI looks in what has worked before and traces it back then in the present with, of course, therefore, a higher accuracy rate, because it's not just experimenting, it's building on experience, like a teacher would build also on his or her own experience. I see another question: how can we control our use of technology so that we do not allow it to completely control our lives, but to control it for our own benefit? Well, on a very non-technological way, the most easy aspect is define stuff. At the end of the day, the human is to be in control and to be in the driver's seat. So, for example, I know that schools or Ministry of Education, they are writing their charter about what will we do with AI and what will we not do. A very easy example that we see across a lot of countries: predictive policing. There are a lot of countries, a lot of governments saying we will not touch predictive policing, or social credit systems. There are a lot of countries saying we will not touch this. So it's clear, we define it, we say where the limit is. So, second, the data scientist, the project manager, the user need to be involved from the beginning in order to first know exactly what is going to happen with the change in the process, what will AI data bring, and where do we bring in setups that make sure that we are in control. That's why we need explainability tools, for example, because if the data and AI tells me, well, I have seen all the data and here it is, you need to do that as next step, we need to be sure that this is clear, and we need to be sure why it is proposing this. So that's why also a good balance between black box and white box, what we call it, to understand when do we rely on explanation and when do we rely on the advantage of AI. That's where we need a right balance, and especially on critical use cases where it's about lives, personal people, disabilities, of course, as well, and so on and so forth. And that's where we need ethical AI. Voila. I think that's really important. And of course, being ambassador to the use of data and AI, then in the projects, to make sure that we trust the technology, that we trust the change in the technology in the project. That is something that we need to do again and again, and also to accept the fact that maybe we change something. Maybe we rebalance some setups in the project. We let the data and AI learn. But my last point is, do not forget, data and AI helps, but just as a kid when it's born, AI is quite dumb at the start. It needs training, it needs education, just as the children does. So to be honest, at the end of the day, yes, data and AI will help in education, but you will be the ones who actually will use data and AI in order to help, first of all, yourself and the people around you. I maybe stop here if there is no other question.
That was absolutely incredible, Pierre. I just have one sort of last question. And during our last 2 weekends where our teams were busy with the hackathons, we actually had quite a few teenagers focusing on quality education as their SDG. And I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here. I hope you don't mind, but if you could give any advice to those teenagers who are in the very early stages, they've just, had this incredible idea of how to approach, quality education with AI and technology. Do you have any advice for those young people who perhaps this is their first time even encountering AI and technology?
Yes, the easy first step will really be on the one hand to educate yourself with whatever you can do. I'm thinking of online courses like Elements of AI from the University of Helsinki, I think. Another one will be to think, okay, what you would like to change in your daily life as child at school? Is it about learning faster? Is it about reading? Is it about writing? Is it about interacting with the teacher? Is it about a specific field? To have that use case identified, and then to think about, okay, where can the analysis of text, the automation of text, the automation of processes, the understanding of what is happening, why it's happening, what will happen next, how can that ability change something in that process of yours, and how to then also make it to an outcome that will be increased. That could be a first way to think about your use case and your hackathon ID. So that's where I would start.
Amazing. Well, I, for one, am leaving today feeling very informed and excited about the opportunities that there are for tech and AI. I absolutely love your approach, coming from South Africa, where we are, the kind of divide between privileged and underprivileged or under-resourced learners is very high. So having the ability to make technology accessible and also to help perhaps with dropout rates, for example, it's just incredible and very exciting. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for your time and sharing your extensive knowledge with us. I know the team was very excited for this session because, like I said, it's been a very strong focus on education. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I hope everyone is leaving today, just like me, excited about the future of tech and AI in education. So thank you so much, Pierre-Adrien. We've really enjoyed your time today.
Sure. Merci beaucoup, and do not hesitate to reach out. So you find me on LinkedIn. Any question, I'll be there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank
Merci
you.
beaucoup.
And we will see everyone for our next session tomorrow, where we will be talking about careers in AI. So that's a really exciting one. You won't want to miss that. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful morning or evening or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much for being here. Bye.
Au revoir.
Bye.